Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and you're very welcome to this video, a video of two halves. So it's the middle of February now, and I have some decisions to make regarding this bed here, and in particular that holly over there. Now, this is a holly I bought several years ago because of a recommendation in a book by the late great Christopher Lloyd, and he recommended this Ilex Golden King. Now, the great thing about this holly is that although it's variegated, it isn't particularly prickly, so you're not going to do your hands in as you weed about it in the garden. And despite the name of Golden King, this is in fact a female plant, so if I had another holly here it would produce berries. But the thing about it is that this has been in the garden now for 14 years and it's not doing much. Now, I suppose part of the problem is the way I've cut it. So I attempted to cut it into a cone shape and it's not doing well. But I suppose the long and the straight of it is that I'm just really bored with this holly now at this stage, and I want to try something new in this bed here. So I am now going to get into my car and to drive to a local garden centre where I saw an amazing shrub that I would so like to have in my garden, and if I get rid of the holly I could put it right there. Now, I'm going to say no more, because if I don't find the shrub, then, well, you know, there'll be no video to make. But come with me and let's have a look and see if we can find an amazing shrub to put in that spot right there. Today I'm visiting a garden centre which is relatively near to me, and it's Beechdale Garden Centre in Clonroche in County Wexford. Recently somebody asked me about my favourite garden centres for buying plants, and I can tell you that I have 4 favourites in Wexford or close to me, one of which is Beechdale. The second is Coolock, and this garden centre, I guess it's a nursery really, and it's attached to Coolock Gardens, which is a really fantastic must-see garden, but they have a wonderful selection of rare trees and shrubs that you can also check out when you come down to visit. The third garden centre that I really love is just outside of County Wexford, and that's in Aughrim. It's known as Kappa Nursery or Vandervelde, and they are wonderful, particularly for bare root shrubs and bushes at this time of year. And this is where I recently bought my hellebores, which you probably saw in the last video. And then the fourth nursery that I regularly buy plants from is the wonderful Kilmurray Nursery just outside of Gorey. And you may recall the pink border that I planned and bought for last year. Well, all of those plants came from Kilmurray. Anyway, today we're at Beechdale and I am on the hunt for a particular shrub that I saw here a little while ago. While we're here, we'll just have a little look around the other things that there are in the garden centre. A lot of seasonal things. We've got primroses, plenty of camellias in flower, lots of hellebores, and they have a selection of more unusual, slightly tender shrubs and trees. They have amazing magnolias down here as well. I am on the hunt for a particular shrub that I saw here a little while ago. The scent wafting across this garden centre is just amazing, and I know exactly what it's coming from. It's coming from the Edgeworthia. Now, I can't actually tell how much the red one, how well it is scented compared to the yellow. I do know that the yellow is highly, highly scented, and I hope the red one is just as good. Now, this, I suppose, is a relatively unusual shrub. It comes from China, Myanmar and Japan, and the thing about it is its glorious scent in spring. The most common variety is the yellow, but I have my eye on the red one called Red Dragon, Edgeworthia Red Dragon, and it is just a vision. So you can bet that one's coming home with me. So that's my trolley, and I've picked up a few little pulsatilla to underplant the Edgeworthia with. Gorgeous little things that flower just a little bit later on in spring than now. And the great thing about pulsatilla is that after they flower, they produce beautiful seed heads. Normally perennials don't produce seed heads, but these ones are really gorgeous. But now it's time to head back with my Edgeworthia and to plant it in the ground. Okay, so I guess at this stage I look a bit like the cat that got the cream, because I managed to find the Edgeworthia, the red one that I so had my eyes on, and here it is. And it's a decent enough specimen, because one of the things about Edgeworthia is that they are slow growing, so it's going to take a while to get to any decent height, and this one already has a good start, because it is a decent height. Now I can't wait to get down there and get it in the ground. But I read a very interesting story about this bush, and it's called the paper bush, because you can actually use the bark on mature plants as paper, and they do so in Japan, where they harvest it in the same way as you might harvest cork off a cork tree. It doesn't do the plant any harm, but I guess it regenerates the outer skin of its bark, and with that you can make paper, a high quality paper apparently. And also apparently Japanese banknotes are made out of the bark of the Edgeworthia or paper bush, so that's really interesting. Now this bush is a little bit finicky in terms of aspect. First of all, it's hardy in my zone, so I am roughly in zone 9. Apparently this bush is hardy from zones 7 to 9, so it'll do for many areas, and it wants, I guess, a sheltered aspect. It's not going to be happy if it's in wind, if wind is blowing it the whole time, and it wants a semi-shaded or full sun position. Now if you are in a country where your summer is very, very warm, well, lucky you, but in that case I guess you're going to have to plant your Edgeworthia in semi-shade. Today I'm going to put it in a semi-shaded position, because that's where I want it to flower and to look fantastic with its understory of snowdrops, which are already there in situ. And it wants a well-drained but fertile soil, so this isn't one you're going to plant in a boggy area. It is just going to hate that, and it's going to roll over and die, and you certainly don't want that if you've got something as gorgeous as this. Now can I show you the flowers? Let's see if we can get a close-up of these amazing flowers. Let's see. Well, maybe that wasn't very successful, but let's put it down here. I can't wait to get it in the ground. Oh, here we go. Let me just gingerly cross across the border here. And of course, if I want to get this Edgeworthia in the ground, this guy here, the holly, has to come up first. So that's going to be a job. I forgot to mention the fantastic scent of the Edgeworthia is certainly fantastic on the yellow variety, but perhaps it isn't as strong on my red variety. It certainly has a scent, but I will have to let you know on that over time. Okay, I better go and get a fork and a spade and have a go at that bush. I hope it isn't going to be as tough as it looks. Oh, okay, I hope I didn't stand in anything too precious there. Yeah, big bush. And although I said it wasn't prickly, you know what, it is a bit prickly. Now, I suppose what we're going to do here is to just try and get the fork in around it and just do a little bit of exploratory digging to see how hard or easy. See how I said easy there? So optimistic this is going to be. And actually it's hard to get at the base of, at the trunk of the plant because of the way it's been clipped. Isn't that encouraging? Oh, I'm so powerful. A full disclosure here now. I have my husband on standby if I can't manage this. Okay, so I need some help with this. This is my husband Norman and he is going to take it from here with this holly. But look, I did good work. Look, I can shake it. Will I let you get on with it?
Please do.
You may recall a few years ago I had a giant Libertia in the bed there behind you and I took it up myself, and that was a really big job, and I guess I'm just not as young as I used to be, let's just face it. So I do need help with jobs, and I think if you have someone to help, then a really good rule of thumb is to ask for help, because you know you can do yourself an injury if you take on something that is too much for you. Anyway, I hope it's not too much for Norman here. He seems to be making good progress, but also if I were to continue with that myself, I might manage to get it up in the end, but I'd have no energy left to plant the Edgeworthia, and I do want to do that bit. As we can see, the holly is now well and truly out of the ground, and what a big brute it was as well. It didn't have a taproot, but it was fairly difficult to unroot. There are still some stray roots in there which I'm going to pull out as I plant. Now, Christopher Lloyd is a big garden idol of mine. I absolutely love all his books and I have taken a lot of his planting suggestions on board, but this one, the holly, the Ilex King, no, I really don't get it. I tried for many years to make it work, but now, well, that's it, it's gone. Okay, onwards and upwards, let's get on to planting the Edgeworthia in there. And to do that job, I have a couple of things here. I've got some fish, blood and bone, and some potting mix or compost, and my kneeler. Oh yeah, and a couple of gloves, because my husband's gone in for his cup of tea now, so if I don't put on gloves, I'm not going to be able to adjust that camera with my hands all full of mud. Okay, so one great hole later, and I think this hole is going to comfortably accommodate the root ball of my Edgeworthia because it has rather a large bottom. So when we put that in, it like there's plenty of space around. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of compost at the base of the hole, and I'm using this kind of all-purpose peat-free compost. Put some at the bottom, and then I'm going to mix in with my own earth, which is always a good idea to get the root run as used to the surrounding earth as possible, as quickly as possible. Otherwise it'll just stay in its hole and not go around. So mix that up a bit. A little bit of fish blood and bone, which is hiding behind me. Also, fish blood and bone shouldn't touch your plant roots because it may burn them. So mix it in with the soil and don't put it directly on the plant roots. Now, I just wanted to mention soil because there are conflicting reports. According to the RHS, which is a very reliable source, this plant doesn't require ericaceous or acid-loving soil. It can deal with, anything that's kind of mid-range. However, some other sites, some other sources do say that it prefers acidic soil. I have acidic soil, which is great for me, but it mightn't be so great for you. So you are going to have to, I guess, research that a bit more if you have non-acidic soil and you really want an Edgeworthia. Right, so let's try and get it out of its pot. And here we go. Nice root system. And in it goes to its hole. And being very careful of the grafting point, which is this bit here with wax on top. So the rootstock is from a more vigorous plant and the top growth is the Edgeworthia. Now there's always a bit of fiddling here because everything has a good side, right? And you want the best side for it, for the view that people see the most, which I guess is from over there. So I guess I'm going to turn my plant a bit around that way. It's of course very important to make sure that you bury your plant to the same depth that it was in the pot, not any deeper, and to pay particular attention to the graft point. If that breaks, you're in trouble, your plant is gone. So just be careful with it. The Edgeworthia is now firmly planted in the ground, and it only remains for me to plant a few of the pulsatilla around it and also some snowdrops, because one of the casualties of digging up the holly was this big clump of snowdrops. So, well, it's almost the time to divide them anyway. They finished flowering, so I'm going to dot them around. I bought 2 red and 1 purple pulsatilla, so I'll enjoy seeing these flower. Just a little bit deeper, in you go, around with the soil. And as for the snowdrops, well, this isn't a snowdrop dividing video, but you get the idea. Snowdrops are best divided and planted in the green, which means when they have their green leaves, not when they're dormant bulbs. And I'll just divide this into 5 clumps, I guess, and replant. In theory, you can plant as few as like 1 or 2 snowdrops in a clump, but in my experience, they're much punier and easier to prone to damage if you do that. I'm now going to get on with planting the remaining snowdrops. You cannot see this, but there's a robin sitting on top of you, on top of the camera right now. Such a cute little thing. They always turn up when you disturb the soil in spring. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to plant these, and then I am really going to give this plant a hell of a good watering, not to mention the pulsatilla and the snowdrops. And that must always be the case, even if it's raining. Anyway, little robin just flew down. Even if it's raining, just your weather is very wet, always give things a good water after you plant them to make sure that the roots settle, etc. And that brings me to the end of this video, which I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed seeing me plant my Edgeworthia. Maybe you'll consider it for your own garden. Maybe you'll consider getting rid of something that doesn't earn its keep anymore, like this holly did for me. It's just sitting there now like a big ominous threatening mass. We're going to have to do something sensible with it. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.